Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Bukowski,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
please remain standing for a moment of silence for our veterans. And for the invocation, we have Reverend Rick Myson.
Before I do pray, I miss this chair being filled with Dave Uzar. I know he's watching, and I'm not here to embarrass him, but one thing is we miss him. And we know he's going through some struggles right now, and we're going to pray for him and for others in our town who are going through some similar struggles, physically, maybe emotionally, financially. Father, as we stand before you today, we thank you for Dave and Lord, that his love for the town of Cheektowaga. Father, I do pray, Father, for him and for others, Lord, in our town who are going through struggles, physical, mental, emotional, and financial. We thank you, Father God, for your blessing that you have given this town. And Father, we ask, Lord God, your blessing upon this meeting and all the resolutions that will be talked about, that, Lord, everything will go smoothly. And, Lord God, that the residents, Father, will benefit through this meeting. We do pray, Father, for our police. We ask, Father, your continued protection upon them. And, Lord, what we saw within the last 2 weeks, Lord, these people put their lives on the line for our safety. And same with our fire department, all our first responders. So, Lord, we ask your blessing and protection upon them. We think of those, Father, who are serving in the armed forces, that you will be with them. And, Father, bless our nation, bless this meeting, and bless the town of Cheektowaga, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Councilmember Barbara Bukowski.
Present.
Councilmember Diane Benchkowski.
Here.
Councilmember Anthony Filipski.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Jazinski.
Here.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Councilmember Vernon Thompson.
Here.
Supervisor Brian Nowak.
Present.
All are present. We have a quorum.
Next item on the agenda this evening is presentation for new business. I see none under that headline. So we're going to move right on to our public comment period. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving the town of Cheektowaga. Each speaker may speak only once. Each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Our first speaker on public comment, Dan Collender.
Good evening. The taxpayers of the town still have the question of why there's no accountability when town employees make executive decisions such as with all the seats in this room. We still don't know where they went. Nobody wants to talk about it. Cost us $36,000 in taxpayer funds. Nobody wants to talk about that either. Everybody knows it's the town board's decision to spend that kind of money, but yet a town employee spent it with no ramifications. What kind of message does that send to the town employees, let alone the taxpayers, that you're just ignoring it's their money, it's not your money, it's their money. Anybody want to comment on that? Okay. My next question is actually for Chief of Police. On the Facebook page for the police department, up until about a month or so ago, they used to put up all the crime stats, and they haven't shown up in the last month. I just wonder if those are going to find their way back or not.
We can look into that and get you an answer later on.
Well,
It's a comment period.
okay.
So
Nobody else seems to be care that all those crime stats are missing, magically missing with election coming up?
I don't think they're down because of an election coming up.
Okay,
You can look into
then-
who puts the
then what's the
stats up
answer?
and get you an
They
answer.
haven't been
I
up
don't
there.
know
We're
off the top of
missing
my head right this
4,
second.
5, 6 weeks worth.
I don't have the answer right off the top of my head
Right.
right now. Figure out what's going on with the social. But I appreciate the comment.
Thank you.
Reverend Rick?
Resolution 2025-593, special event, youth and recreation Halloween skate and trunk and treat. I never remember the skate part of it at Stiglmeyer. Is this going to be the same place we always had it for the last few years? Whoever is behind that resolution?
Yeah, in the resolution, it talks about this event going to Town Park. So they're going to move the location.
Oh, it's not going to be at
Yeah.
Stiglmeyer?
It's the location this year, I know traditionally it's been at
Right.
Stiglmeyer. Parking lot between the soccer field and the ice rink in Town Park on Saturday, October 25th, from 6 PM to 7:50.
Okay, thank you.
You got it? With that, we're going to move on to our public hearings. Oh. While it's not required, I encourage you to sign this if you don't mind, so that way we have your name and contact information to do any follow-up.
So I used to come to town meetings all the time, and I stopped coming because the political standings were different and nobody seemed to listen. I've lived here my whole life. I went to Central, I went to Maryville. I've watched our community grow from a beautiful place to live to raise kids to now I feel like I'm living on the Lower East Side. The crime rate's gone through the roof. Our taxes have gone through the roof. What is the justification of our taxes going high when you guys can't even maintain the crime rate? I mean, I went as far as I own properties. I had to put surveillance equipment around all my properties. I never thought in my life I would have to do that. And now I've got to watch because unfortunately the police department, their hands are tied. They're not allowed to do anything. I live on George Urban. 2 days ago, it looked like Tokyo Drift from the Fast and the Furious down there. We had 25 souped up cars racing straight down Nagel Avenue, Nagel Boulevard, whatever it is, to George Urban. And by the time they hit Union Road, they were doing 100 miles an hour. We have tons of kids in the neighborhood. There is nothing being done about the crime. If you guys can't do something about it, put it back into our hands and allow us to protect what's ours. If you can't do your job and protect the community, resign. Get somebody in here who actually does care. I'm so tired of people being for their pocket and not for the people. Start getting things done. I don't care if you're Democratic, Republican, liberal, whatever you believe in. If you're gonna be in this community, be for the community. I'm gonna make it a point to talk to all my neighbors because they all seem to love coming to my house to complain about the area because I will speak up. If you guys can't do it, please resign. Why should we pay you to do nothing? That's all.
We're going to move on to our public hearings. We have 4 this evening.
Our first public hearing tonight is, a call was made at the town board meeting of August 12th, 2025. It was resolution 2025-527 to discuss and consider the public comments regarding a local law to regulate short-term rentals in the town of Cheektowaga. As far as comments, I can tell you that town clerk's office has received none.
That, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second? Second, Councilman Pilarski, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open. On the sign-up list this evening, we have no one signed up to speak. Attorney Fowler, can you take a moment in, let's say, 50 words or less to describe what this short-term rental legislation is about?
I can, but I just want to make sure, so everybody, I think the board members all received comments from Gary Borak via email. I realize maybe they didn't go to the clerk's office officially, but I just want to make sure that if Gary's watching, he knows, we recognize that those came in and we'll be taking those into account. As far as the short-term rental law goes, right now, we do not have anything that regulates how Airbnbs, VRBOs, whatever initials you want to give them, these local residential style rentals, how they're regulated, how are they licensed, what control do we have over what they can do, who they can have in there, how many they can have. And almost as important to each of those things is whether or not they're even safe. And our STR law requires registration with the town and compliance with several regulations designed towards safety, also designed towards the comfort of our residents who live in the neighborhoods where these short-term rental locations are placed. Our buildings department will be required to do inspections prior to issuance of a permit. And those inspections will take place regularly. I believe it's every 3 years is what we've got written in there. So that's the long and the short of it. But we do have provisions in the short-term rentals law and the local code that allows us to shut a place down if they misbehave, for lack of a better word, if they go against our regulations. I've worked very closely both with everybody on this board, with our planning department, with our buildings department, with our fire code enforcement department. And what we're hoping to do, and we'll see down the line how effective it is, what we're hoping to do is sort of calm the waters and be in a position to shut down some of these things, because I understand, and I think the whole board understands, that most of them are good community partners, community neighbors, but there's a couple out there that are causing us grief. And I think that's really what this law is intended to do, is try to get on top of that.
Thank you, Attorney Fowler. We have comments that were presented by Boric. I know we have at least one that would like to speak. So Ken, do you want to approach and sign in on the sign-in sheet? Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this public hearing following Mr. Young? All right, Ken, you can just leave it right there. How you doing tonight? Good to hear. Good. It's okay. Oh, here. Tom Fowler. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I just have a few comments. I appreciate the attorney Fowler speaking up and telling us some of the things that is going to be going on with your laws that's coming out. But I didn't hear him say anything about commercial. Are these properties going to be commercial properties instead of residential? Because they're like hotels. They're making money sitting across the street from me. I'm not making money in my house, you know. So why should I pay the same tax that they pay? It should be a commercial property. Charge them accordingly. Also, until you get everything in order, this might take 6 months, a year, who knows? 3 months. Why can't we have a moratorium on Airbnbs at this time? You know, just say enough for right now. Just don't do it until you get everything in order. I think that's something that you should consider. All right, because even though they're here, they're doing what they want to do. They're disrupting neighborhoods. They're disrupting neighbors and neighborhoods. I think that you can do more with the moratorium on them. And if you can't do anything about the ones that are there, at least stop the ones any more from coming in town. That's what we're asking. That's what I'm asking. So please give us some consideration and enact on it. All right, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. One last call for those in the audience. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak? Any town board members like to deliver comment on this public hearing before I make a motion to close? Councilmember Benchkowski.
Thank you, Supervisor. I like Ken Young's idea about the moratorium. Attorney Fowler, is it possible for us to do something like that?
My understanding of it is technically speaking, the moratorium is another local law and we would have to draft it,
Oh,
have
right.
public hearings, and I suspect that we would get this into place much more quickly than we could do the moratorium.
Okay, well, thank you for the answer on that. And I think we really should take into consideration some of these suggestions by Gary Borick. The house number, I think that was one of those that he had mentioned that we asked that a house number be at the house, on the house, but at the road, but it might cause people to start just painting freehand a number on a curb or whatever, or on a sign that might not look very nice, so.
I think there's things we can adjust that wouldn't change the spirit of the law. There was another one that was stylistic that he mentioned that we should definitely take.
Yes, so I think we should all take a look at some of these comments, take into consideration Ken Young's, and give it one last sweep before we adopt this, hopefully at the next meeting.
Okay.
Get it moving along.
Are you all set, Councilman?
Yes, thank you.
Motion to close the hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, you wanted to speak?
Oh, no.
Second from Councilmember Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This public hearing is closed. We're moving on to our second public hearing. It is a special use permit for 105 Susan.
Call for public hearing was made at the town board meeting of August 12th, 2025, resolution 2025-424, to discuss and consider a special use permit for the establishment of a small telecommunications device within the right-of-way for address 105 Susan. No comments were received by the town clerk's office.
Right. With that, I'd like to make a motion to open this public hearing. Do I have a second on that? Second from Councilmember Bukowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is open. All right, we have no one signed up to speak on the sheet here. Madam Clerk, did we get any comments online or through the webmail? Okay, and
I'm here for the applicant. I can do a brief intro. That's
yeah, if you can approach, please, just for the record, introduce your first and last name and who you're representing.
Yep. Steve Fantuzzo from Nixon Peabody, attorneys for Verizon. And I had sent in a couple of just PowerPoint slides just to show the visuals. This one's not as exciting as the last, but I don't know if you have those.
Okay. I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you.
And is it all right if we do? They're sort of a cluster to do all three together. I don't know if that's procedurally.
Let's keep our comments to this particular one and make sure the audience understands that when we're dealing with the site on Cleveland and then the third site, that all three are the same in terms of the size of the tower and the cell and whatnot.
All right. So I'll introduce, I guess, the project as a cluster. So these are the three small cells, meaning that they're the lower power single antennas. They're proposed to be located on utility poles. Two are going to be replacement utility poles, and one's going to be on an existing. This one up here, the Burdette, the 742 Beach, is going to have the existing pole. These are all located in the town right away on each of the roads. So there's an existing license agreement between Verizon and the town permitting Verizon to site these here. They're all NICEAG poles, and in the application materials, there's a NICEAG work order showing their sign off and consent for Verizon to locate them on these poles. The analysis here is similar for the towers. So the Verizon engineers are looking for coverage and capacity gaps. Here, there's just a much smaller footprint. So the 30 to 40 foot height is sufficient to reach the coverage area, about 100-yard radius or so, and also offload capacity. So for I don't know if Kim, you have the photo I had sent. Our application will be similar to the prior. There's just a few photos showing the simulation of what the one antenna and equipment will look like on the pole. I don't, you guys have those by chance? Okay. All right, so that's the 742 Beach. As you can see, just the one antenna at the top. It's a 34-foot tall utility pole. The antenna would be at about 31.5 feet. Equipment would be at about 10 feet in height. So it's a pretty small intrusion on the pole there. So.
Five Susan, and that's Cleveland, but we'll stick to Beach. I apologize.
No, that's it. It's yeah, just a much smaller footprint. But happy to answer any questions if the board or public has.
On,
It's, I guess it's
Actually, how much transmit power is what I'm wondering.
how much transmit power. So in terms of like how much is it going to cover, or like the actual wattage?
The wattage, yes.
All right, we'll go to the exhibit.
the question was about how much wattage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so we've got they've got antennas broken down here into the five sectors. We've got 830, these are ERP watts, 830, 106, 774, all in exhibit H of each of the three applications.
All right, before we move to any comments from the public, I'm going to open it up to the board members for any questions, comments, concerns here. We'll go to the public and then we'll finish up the hearing, starting with Councilmember Pilarski.
How does your cell equipment on the pole compare to size of a transformer on a pole that may or may not already be on there?
I think it's the antenna is actually it's only 2 feet in height. I have to go to the actual plan for the equipment cabinet, but it's similar. It's probably about 3 feet in height. It's I guess I think it would be smaller than what would be a transformer, although I'm not familiar with their typical size, but just from eyeballing, it's pretty
Sounds similar. You're saying 2 to 3 feet, and there
yeah,
2 transformers on there would be very similar than with your box and
right,
with the
right.
cell antenna. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Filipski?
Is this
create interference for like cable TV or cordless phones or anything?
No interference. So it's just the radio signal. It's just, much weaker. It just basically just provides, they typically do the small cells in higher density areas. So where there's a stronger demand in a neighborhood like this, it can, both hit a coverage gap as well as, create capacity and efficiency. So, I don't think there'll be interference. It should free up the system.
Last time you were up here, I think we talked about getting an email based on the level of radiation that this would give off. Do you have those numbers?
We have, so the submission is always going to be, it's in the same Exhibit H. So there's RF compliance, and they do it on a percentage threshold. So it's the FCC's MPE limits. This is less than 1% of what the FCC allows. And as we discussed at the last meeting, as long as these numbers are below the FCC thresholds, it's preempted by federal law. So towns aren't in a position to comment or make decisions based on MPE limits and RF emissions. But these are all nowhere near the FCC threshold. So that's going to be also in Exhibit H.
I know we had talked about you emailing that information. Are you still able to email that information to the town board?
It's been submitted.
I haven't seen it like specifically highlighted in it.
And
Because I mean, for the person in layman's terms may not know what they're looking for. So if you could maybe highlight that and maybe submit
it's
it.
in Exhibit H.
I know, but you're talking lawyer terms, and I don't know what Exhibit H is. So I mean, could you just?
It's in our application package that we submitted to the
and
town.
I'm not a lawyer. I don't read applications like that. I'm asking, as a town board member, if you could email that. It's a direction. It's not a question.
We can email it to you.
Thank you.
I guess what I'm confused about is these were submitted to the town. The town reviews them and approves or makes a decision on them. So I'm not trying to be
science nor a cell tower engineer, so I don't know the particulars. I do know about radiation and stuff like that. I can talk to you about that, and I don't know the specifics about the cell tower. I'm not trying to debate that with you. If I'm just asking a simple request.
Sure, and I'm just telling you simply that it was submitted in the application material.
Yes, I do. You may.
We can submit it again.
Right. Yeah. Could you just send that specific section to our emails?
We can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All set, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other comments from council members? Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment before we close out this public hearing? If you'd like to approach the podium, while you're not required, I would strongly encourage it. If you're willing to give us contact information for follow-up. How are you tonight?
I'm fairly decent.
All right.
You?
I'm doing well. I just had your urge to say fly for a bike. I know. Sounds in my head. Don't you wish you had the end? You don't have to sign.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you don't have to, I mean, signature's not necessary.
Okay.
All right.
I like to be thorough.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Good evening. I am the resident of 105 Susan Lane.
Okay.
And I just thought I would communicate some things to you that you may not be aware of. For example, I am an amateur radio operator. I have my license here if you'd like to, should I?
You're good.
Okay. So the reason I asked about the wattage is I am thoroughly aware of something called desensitization. I don't know if you've ever driven by Genesee Street where the WECK tower is. You may notice that you don't even need to be tuned to 1230, and you can sometimes hear that on your radio. It just depends on the design of your radio equipment. So my concern is that this will interfere with my amateur radio activities by desensitizing my receiver, my over-the-air television viewing, that sort of thing. And quite frankly, I'm allowed to transmit at about 1.5 kilowatts. So it might be mutually beneficial for them to site this somewhere else because I could desense their equipment. I will also add that when I was a resident of South Buffalo, I had Verizon online DSL service. And came time that they gave me a decision to make. You can continue to remain month to month, but pay an extra $8 per month for the privilege, or you can sign a renewal of your contract for another 2 years. And I said, that's kind of silly, wasting that money. So what they decided to do is they chopped my downstream in half and my upstream in a third. And it took some behind the scenes fiddling by someone that wasn't supposed to do it to actually restore my service to what it should be. I'm just kind of giving you a flavor for Verizon, the company. Also, I don't know. Now, as they say, the devil is in the details. This notice you sent to me, it says Cheektowaga, New York, 14043. No, that's Depew. Also, you said 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which lags Eastern Daylight Saving Time by an hour. I'm technically an hour early. Just saying. I think it would be mutually beneficial for them to have this. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying it'd be mutually beneficial to site it 1 or 2 poles down. That's all I'm saying. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate the comment. Thank you very much. Did you want to approach to speak to the concern? Because it gives me a question.
Oh, yeah. I asked once. I heard a bunch of numbers. I didn't hear once.
If you could approach the podium, because I do have a question related to Mr. Phillips' comments there.
Like the member Jasinski, I'm also not the engineer on it. So what we can do is we can follow up on the desensitization. We understand his concern, and I can get you a technical answer. So.
Okay, and I have a broader question.
Sure.
Is it fair to understand these microcells functioning much the same way as a large tower? Basically, it does the same thing at a smaller level. I understand you're not the engineer. Do you feel comfortable answering that question?
Yeah, my understanding is that's what it is. It's at a much smaller level. It's radio waves. So this is extremely weak radio waves.
And that's why I want to ask to make sure I understand how the technology works to conceptualize the concerns he brought, that
Understood.
if he was right next to a large tower and he was experiencing these issues, that the same thing could potentially happen at a microcell.
Understood. Well,
all right, thank you.
Yeah, I can. We'll follow up with the engineers and respond. So understood the concern.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak on this? Going once, going twice. I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Pilarski. All in favor?
Aye.
This public hearing is closed. That moves us to our next public hearing for special use permit, 742 Beach.
Call for public hearing was made at the town board meeting of August 12th, 2025, resolution 2025-525, to discuss and consider a special use permit for the establishment of a small telecommunications device within the right-of-way for address 742 Beach Road. No comments were received by the town clerk's office.
I'd like to make a motion to open this public hearing. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Flipsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open. We had a presentation on 105 Susan. A presentation on 742 Beach would be much to the same effect. Are there any questions or comments or concerns from council members on this particular proposal at 742 Beach? All right, hearing none. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this one? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second? Second from Ms. Bukowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Public hearing is closed. And that moves us to our next public hearing for 539 Beach Special Use Permit.
Call for public hearing was made at the town board meeting of August 12th, 2025, resolution 2025-526, to discuss and consider a special use permit for the establishment of a small telecommunications device within the right-of-way for address 539 Cleveland Drive. Again, no comments were received by the town clerk's office, and we are putting the diagram up for all to see.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to open this public hearing. Do I have a second? Second from Councilmember Benchkowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This public hearing is opened. I know the Madam Clerk said she did not receive any comments on this item. As I did receive an email on it, I don't know if that came from other board members or that went to other board members. I believe that it did. This came from Carol Driscoll that went to board members earlier today regarding 559. So I'm just going to read aloud the email to get that into the record. It says, respectfully, we are not in favor of this special use permit located at 539 Cleveland. And there's a few different items listed. It says, why can this address not simply use Spectrum or Verizon for carrier? Why is a special antenna to signal their own network? This will interfere with surrounding addresses and interfere with other networks, which is not acceptable. An antenna device constructed on a pole can cause all kinds of issues when the weather gets drastic, which could ultimately cause this to fall or break as motor vehicles drive by, causing a whole other problem. Since when can an individual use a utility pole to construct anything? We cannot even put signs on poles without being in violation. It says this person should not be allowed to construct anything on a pole or right away. Otherwise, if it's allowed, we'll move our fence back 3 feet. And then there's a couple other sentences to finish up this email. So there's a general expression of concern about the nature of this. So I can forward that to the rest of the board if they would like, but other than that, I've received no comment, email, phone call on this project. Any questions, concerns from council members on this special use permit? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move to the general public. Anybody out there would like to speak on 539 Cleveland? Reverend Rick?
I know for a fact 2 of you board members are volunteer firemen. Quarter mile down the street is Cleve Hill. Will this interfere with their traffic? Their radio traffic? That's the thing I'm concerned about.
That's a great question, and unfortunately, the representative of the project left early, so he's not here for us to ask anything of him.
I doubt it. I don't know, but we have a pretty big tower across the street from our fire hall. We never had a problem.
Okay. I'm just concerned because that's my area.
Understandably so. I get it. Yeah.
And they're great people. Anytime you need them, they're there.
Yeah. I could just vouch for my own experience. We don't have any issues at all with communications, radio communications.
Okay. That's the only thing I was concerned about.
As much as I'd like to say I don't believe that it would, I'd concur with the councilman. I don't know that with certainty, and he explained what I would have explained, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, hearing none, I'm going to make a motion to close this public hearing. Do I have a second?
No, second.
Lipsky, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This public hearing is closed. That moves us on to board discussion, beginning with old business. Do we have any old business this evening from board members?
Yes, actually, I'd like to see if there's what kind of a follow-up, maybe the engineer had. Back in July, we passed authorizing the engineering department to prepare plans and specifications for repairs to the highway garage. And from what I've been recently told that there's been no movement on that. So I'm just looking to see where we're at with that.
That was a project, the last I checked in. I'm sorry, Mr. Bowen, did you want to speak on that?
You can go ahead and speak.
My most recent understanding of this is that there's movement to get prices on that, but with the variety of projects that we have to deal with here in town, that's one we can deal with in the fall, even going into the winter months if we had to. I will follow up again with highway and engineering to ask exactly where they are. But yes, there's we're not at a stage where we've bought materials or we're going to do the installation right yet.
Yeah, that's.
Ern, could you
Hey.
repeat yourself? I couldn't hear.
Sorry, if I recall correctly, I thought that was pretty critical at that point that we had to get that passed and, to not have any action or movement is, I guess, concerning or just a lack of information to understand why. So maybe engineering can speak to that?
I haven't been directly involved with it. I will check with Kyle Hendrickson in the morning and notify the board where he is with that.
All I can tell you is what I've been told when I asked for follow-up on these projects, and that's what I got recently. So.
And I actually have one more in regards to, again, engineer, about 810 Lawson, the casino at Lawson Park or Stigamo Park. Where are we at with that? Because I know that we all stemmed from that back from last year already. And then I know there was a email chain, and the last that I seen was dated July 2nd, and there was supposed to be some kind of a meeting and then an update that week. But then I haven't heard anything unless it went to somebody else and
I can,
missed it.
let me write down as a follow-up. I spoke to Kyle Henriksen maybe 2 weeks ago, last week. I think it's last week on 810 Lawson and what we need to do in terms of bids for that. At Erie County, we do have the money set aside for that project.
Right.
For that has been assured.
Right.
They were working on getting the notice to bidders ready. And if Pat Bowen, I don't know if you've worked directly with Kyle on this or Kyle's just been getting it ready up to this stage, but so I understand that they're working on finalizing the notice to bidders. And as soon as September 9th, we should have that ready on a resolution for consideration. Is that your understanding?
Correct.
Else, council member?
No, that's
Okay.
it for me.
Thank you. Any other old business? Councilmember Jazinski?
I have a couple things I'd like to discuss. I saw a late email come in from Mark Crystal talking about the trenching for the generator. As first recommended, I felt that we should have our highway department dig that trench because of the bidding and the change of pricing and stuff. So as a board, are we prepared to give the direction of having the highway department dig that trench and no longer hold back that project?
I think with the dig is about 2 feet. Would you agree with that? I mean, considering the low, how shallow it is, it's absolutely something that can take on and take care of. And we had our traffic safety officer, traffic safety lieutenant rather, was asking about the painting on the parking lot. And the reason we can't finish that is because we didn't have a final answer on that. So if we can get the trenching taken care of, once that's set, we can paint the handicap spots, complete the striping and the painting of the parking lot, button all that up. So I'd be all in favor of that.
So could we give the highway department the direction to start that immediately?
I saw a couple responses in email earlier today. I think we should pile on that email and give that 2 thumbs
Green light?
up. So make sure that it's in writing for them and they know we're giving the go-ahead. And if there's anything we have to do in terms of resolution in that, we can take care of that on September 9th. But in the meantime, let's give them our blessing. Yeah, Councilmember Benchkowski.
My understanding is they have to get a bid on the conduit first, and then the installation will come after.
We gave approval on the conduit. I thought we dealt with that in a special meeting.
Oh, okay.
There is a piece of this that I think we need a resolution to take care of. But it certainly, to Councilman Jazinski's point, it certainly helps to say we're in support of this and we want to get it done. And then at that point, we just get feedback from engineering and highway on what the board would have to do, if anything, to actually get that finished. The last I recall on that is we passed the resolutions pertaining to conduit, but we were talking at some point about using an outside contractor for that, and that's part of what stalled that. If we're in agreement on highway, doing this in-house directly, that should deal with that piece. But if for some reason we need any other resolution, that's the only thing that would slow this down before September 9th.
So
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Benchikowski, did you have?
Yeah, I'm confused because in this email chain from Mark Crystal, it says the work was never rebid after the resolutions didn't pass to extend CMH's contract. The work is funded through ARPA, and as such, funding is available to purchase the conduit and perform the install. It wasn't until the generator project was bid out and the town knew the cost associated with contract that was awarded to Fry and whatever was left over. So I don't know if that held it up.
We have, I revived this in email this week because we have until the end of 2026, because there's ARPA funding related to this, to get this totally done and buttoned up both on the physical work and the paperwork side. So we have some time left, and I know it's taken a bit to get this going again, but once we're able to answer this question, if we're doing this in-house, and if we need any other resolutions, this might to get to Brian's comment, we're able to move along with that. But on the funding side, we do have ARPA funding to support the cost of this. I don't know if it covers every single penny, but I do know there's ARPA funding allocated to this. Councilman Jazinski wasn't finished, so the floor is back to him.
Yeah, I was wondering, did the town engineer or somebody in the town receive a construction schedule for the tunnel for towers building over in Harlem?
I have not seen one yet, no. You might check with Dan Young, he might have received something.
I did speak with someone from building and planning departments. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Biofield. About this project. A few days ago, I asked them the status of that, and there were a few delays on their end because of storing materials and equipment. That is something they're working on to find suitable place for that, but they're aiming to push this as fast as they can.
So do we have a construction schedule for that?
Councilman Pulaski? I understand.
So we're on two different topics now. So the last
We'll
topic.
go back to you once this is set here. Okay.
Good evening, board members. Dan Young for the record. At this time, they are working with Mark BFL related to construction permits. As far as scheduling goes, that would be handled with the commercial inspector. I know there's discussions, but I have not seen a construction schedule at this time. I know they have filed a variance that would be considered at the September meeting additionally for signage, so there seems like there is some progress being made at this time.
Find out and get back to the board with a construction
Sure,
schedule?
absolutely, yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
I have another concern about a construction schedule. It's in reference to Pleasant Parkway. Do we have a construction schedule for that road? I guess that would be for the town engineer.
All right, before we go to Pleasant, Brian, yours is relevant to the project, the initial topic, correct?
Yeah.
And then we'll get over to Pleasant.
So piggybacking off Councilmember Benchikowski's point of the conduit, she's right. I think that's holding up part of it too. We got to get the product in hand too. So does it make sense to trench all the way from one spot to another, have that trench sitting there with no conduit or putting plates over and all that? So just keep that in mind when we're trying to plan that. You know, I definitely think our highway department should be trenching, seeing it's only 2 feet. I mean, that makes sense, rather than subbing that out. So I don't think personally we should be trenching anything until we have the conduit on hand on site. That's one. And to Tunnels to Towers point, Councilmember Thompson's absolutely right. They're looking for a location to stage some of their equipment, material, and to include some of the modular pieces of it all, like their little village homes or single apartment ones that would be in the back area. I do have some talks going with Benderson to see if it'll happen because they own that whole Kmart area over there right next to Jim's truck stop. Whether that will come to fruition or not, I have no idea. I just put the ask out yet, and then I'm not here, haven't heard anything back yet, but they need a big area to stage some of the stuff that they have. So if any council members know of an area, please throw it our way. You know, Councilmember Thompson's talking to them as well. So either one, they need a big spot for that.
And Conduit point, we approved the purchase, but we didn't buy the materials, so.
Correct.
Right.
Is there anything else relative to the generator project or tunnel to towers before we move on to Pleasant Parkway?
Just real quick with the generator, I'm gonna beat this up, but everything's been, as far as I know, was approved. The project itself was like last November, maybe, around January. We sat down, I sat down with Mr. Crystal, I think you were there at the police station, that meeting. I think you were, Captain Roll, a couple other people. Well, anyways, we decided that we were gonna kind of hold off about trenching because it was too cold and I didn't want to dig it up during tax season and have people potentially fall or have cars, whatever. So that made sense. So when we got to March, the contract for CMH ran out. It wasn't renewed. It seems like I think Mr. Crystal handed the project off to Kyle because he started communicating with me and Captain Roll, and we kind of had a three-way conversation about what we should do. The next bidder was Fry, which was like 4 times higher than CMH's bid. So I suggested to Kyle to put it out to bid again and see if we got anybody else, which he did. Fry came in lower, but still not in the ballpark we were looking for. And I was told that that money wasn't budgeted. So it just kind of, we're like, okay, everything's laid out, everything's ready to go. We just stopped it there until we found out exactly where the money was going to come from to finish it. And then now today's conversations is that suggested highway finish it and then make the connection and we're done. If that makes any sense.
Got 2 issues there, and I'm glad you brought up the tax season piece because if there's any money beyond the ARPA funds, we need to support this, and there's a good chance we'll need that. We have to answer that as a board. But then the other question is if we're purchasing conduit and trenching in the middle of September, it's school tax season. So, and I appreciate you bringing that up in a roundabout way that we're not going to avoid tax season. So. All right, with that, I know Councilman Jazinski had some comments on Pleasant Parkway. The floor is yours, sir.
So this may be directed to the highway, or the town engineer. Were notices sent to the residents for the parking, temporary parking?
That I can't answer because I'm not sure if Jennifer has sent those notices out yet.
And let's see here. Who will enforce the fines if the contractor goes over the contracted time?
Generally, the way that would work is we would notify, I believe, the attorney's office, and then between engineering and the attorney's office, the fines would be imposed.
I'm just a bit confused. This may be directed to the liaisons to the highway department chairs. Being that, per the CBA negotiations, the road work done for the town's roads are by rights the highway department. Were they aware that by them voting yes to the third party contractor that would be potentially grieved, which it was?
I can tell you we've done design build method in this town for many years now. So I heard something to the effect of it being grieved. That would be unusual considering these types of projects.
I'm just asking because I know yourself and Councilmember Pilarski also sit on the negotiations through the TCA CBA agreement. I'm just thinking, didn't you agree in good faith that this work would be the highway department's work?
Want to speak to that, Councilman?
So in reality, highway cannot do every job townwide. So in the past, paving projects have gone to a third-party vendor to bid on due to the lack of equipment, personnel, multiple reasons. And we could, ask the highway on why. And that's why the TCA agrees to some of that. Was this project run by them to get the approval? I would only be able to make an assumption. And when you assume, it's not always right. So if it's violating anything with that CBA agreement, then they have all rights to grieve it. If they're grieving something that we have done as past practice for umpteenth years, then I don't think there's an argument or a fight there. Definitely, if there's any work highway can do, whether it's loading the trucks, putting it down, if we have the equipment, let's roll it and do it. Absolutely, we should be doing it. But if we don't have the equipment to do that stuff, or our equipment's not wide enough, I know that was one issue in the past for bigger roads. I don't know how that pertains to Pleasant here. Maybe it's too wide, maybe it's not, I don't know. But waiting until the grievance comes in to see what the actual issue is. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding on those grievances. They don't get past level one where it's just communication that was lacking. So let's wait until we see a grievance come in and then we address it then.
Grievance has been in now for over a week. I'm just curious, you know, on one side, you're negotiating for the union because you and your counterpart, Mr. Nowak, sit on the union negotiations. We've suggested that maybe mix it up and put a different council member on there. I would still make that suggestion because it just seems a little funny that you guys negotiated in good faith that CBA, but yet you guys created a grievance by voting yes to the third party. And you can't tell me you didn't know it wasn't going to get grieved because in good faith, you negotiated their contract.
Anything else? Any other old business?
I'm sorry, one quick question. Do we get an update on the hotel bed tax? Is it still waiting to be signed? Is that the?
The last time I checked, Councilman, I checked the Domino's Pizza Tracker, as I call it, online. There's a state website that you could see the movement of legislation. As of last Thursday, it does not show to have been signed. On my long list of calls is the state senator and the state assembly member's office. I want to ask Paul Pfeiffer if he knows where that's gone and if that's gotten signature from the governor yet. But from what I can tell, it's not been signed yet. So once that gets done, then we can move on to the local.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. Any new business from council members?
I have a couple small things. First one is pertaining to the IT department. So I know there's been comments and, you know, complaints. So we can't see this on the screen, or, you know, when we're streaming presenters coming up. And this has to do with Dan Young a little bit too. And we spoke about, you know, when a presenter comes, you know, are they informed on the process to make sure that they can stream properly? And, you know, so our clerk isn't, you know, battling 3 different screens, trying to make sure that it's, you know, a seamless process. So just, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind approaching to touch on that a little bit.
Sure.
Thank
so is the question mostly about presenters?
Yes.
Okay, so for any presenters in this current system, it's called a Crestron system. The presentation should have some like preemptive work. So if a presenter is about to come in for a town board meeting, they should contact Kim for directions or whoever they're working with from the other departments. Kim, I think, typically takes presentations via email. We do not allow presenters to bring USBs or flash drives and plug them into our network. There's other options if the presentation's large. I mean, Kim always calls me. We work well together when it comes to what she needs for presentations. And once she has the presentation, she is able to stream it, or it can just be within this room. So this room is a multi-purpose media room. So it can be used for streaming, but it's also used for closed meetings where you can have presenters cast right to the screens. But for the most part, it is making sure that the presenters are prepared ahead of time. So in the case of other boards that meet in here, it's important for that board to know to work with the presenter prior to coming to the meetings. Email, make sure that the person knows how to use the equipment. There is instruction over there. There are labels on those screens so that you know where the cursor has to be on the screen in order to make these screens work. And these will simulcast at the same time.
Do you think it would be easier to have, say, a laptop here for the presenter just to bring their, you know, flash drive to plug into?
No, because she won't be able to stream the meeting without having the content with. So if you're streaming, that has to be with the meeting. So she's displaying her screen on the stream.
Gotcha.
Now, in the room, non-streaming, if you were not streaming a meeting, there are workarounds that we can do for that, where they can bring the laptop, they can connect to our Wi-Fi, and they can present. But she would not be able to stream it to
Okay.
YouTube.
And my other thought too was even like if we have resolutions up there, so sometimes people don't know what resolution we're on or what we're even speaking of. I just thought I'd see if that's something that could be done or.
Yes, so anything that is on the left side of that equipment, which is a controller, a PC, and 2 screens, will be streamed and viewable if Kim shares the screen to view. It can either be streamed in the room or it can be streamed to YouTube. However, if you stream any presentations or the resolutions to YouTube, then you're minimizing this room. So the council would have to make a decision whether you want the users at home to be able to read the resolution, which would minimize this room and it'd be difficult to see the speakers, or you could have the speakers as the main view and you would minimize the resolutions. But the resolutions are available on the town's website, so people that are viewing at home could also bring up the resolutions right from the town's website and then would be able to see the speakers. So it would just be the decision of the board. But the technology in the room is solid. It's very workable, very easy. So there's nothing that when you make a decision on how you want things streamed, there's nothing we can't figure out.
Good.
Good?
Yeah,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank
you.
No problem.
Thank you. And I do have one more quick thing. There was the idea of proposing billboards in areas throughout the town that are either unusable by its size or nature. You certainly don't want to have that in a residential area, so it's something that it's going to affect our local laws. So I spoke with our planner, working with the local laws and our attorney, and just to try and start the conversations and see if this is something that could be beneficial to the town. It was brought to me, and I said I would bring it to the board, and we can have that discussion to see if it's something that we want to consider. And I know Dan did a little research on his end, so I'll let him speak for a moment, and we can have a discussion.
Good evening, members of the board. Again, to Councilmember Thompson's point, what I did at this time after our meeting, I just briefly put a simple survey together that we can make publicly available, just to weigh the public feedback of interest to the board taking something like this up. Literally, it would just say, the town is considering repealing a section of the local code that currently prohibits the establishment of new billboard signs on properties where the business is not located. Please vote whether or not you are in favor of the town considering this repeal. I have a QR code that we could post a survey within the clerk's office and at the Alexander Building. Hard copies could be made available, and then we could have the survey posted to the website in addition, if we were to want to consider this, at least get an initial public feedback of, what's the flavor of the public on this one.
Sure. I appreciate you doing that. And, that's exactly what this is. Instead of saying, hey, this is what we're doing, this is the very beginning of these conversations to see if it's something that, sure. Yeah.
And just, can I add one more point too?
Yes.
Just based on our discussions that we had in that meeting earlier this week, one thing to consider too is, something like this also isn't just impacting this type of signage, it's also impacting other parts of our law. For example, our dark sky compliance, depending on how the signage is lit, we'd be in violation of that. So that's something to take into consideration, that it's not just always a quick fix or a quick amendment. These things are intricate and have to be thought out, in addition to the environmental reviews that go in conjunction with processes like this.
Lighting is my question, but Councilmember Benchkowski?
My understanding was though, we don't want to repeal the whole law. We just want to allow it on town properties for revenue. Isn't that correct? You want it just for certain town-owned properties so we can get some revenue and they can't be used for anything else.
So that was the original thought. And as we're digging into this, let's open the entire book and see, is this something we'd like to explore? So I think that's the original thought for town-owned property. That is something of no value to someone to purchase and build on. But in having these discussions, let's widen it a little bit and see, if this is something that would be beneficial or not.
For me, I'm not going to say no outright to anything. I have concerns, especially if we're getting into these LED style billboards. If you drive in some neighborhoods or some of the main roads, rather, you have these LED signs that are just very bright, and it makes it difficult to drive past them and, quite frankly, maintain your composure on the road at night. So we have to regulate how the lumens and how bright these things and how large they can be. And maybe we even have to address wholesale the question of an LED billboard. I mean, if you go on 33, to and from downtown, they've got a board going in that at nighttime it just grabs your attention. It's like you should be focusing on the road, and this thing is like, look at me, and then it switches the ad around. So we got to get into some of the specifics of it. If we're talking a standalone billboard that they do the old school plaster it up, I think that's one thing that's a lot easier to say, let's give this a shot compared to those. If we're getting into lighted billboards and these digital billboards, we got to be more thoughtful about it. Councilman Jazinski?
Yeah, to your point about LED billboards, I know there's some others like in Tonawanda that at a certain time of the evening, it actually shuts down. So it won't, offer any light pollution to anybody that lives there. Plus, I can see the benefits of it, amber alerts, blizzard warnings, stuff like that. We could actually use it to our advantage to advertise, and maybe do a little better, informing the people of, say, town boards or, special meetings or, amber alerts or, blizzard warnings, stuff like that. So I definitely can see the upside to doing something like this, especially on parcels of land that are just sitting there. I'm sure that we could pretty much have the person who would provide this, meet all the standards that are required per the codes and where it didn't negatively affect the public because, to my understanding, these two parcels of land have been vacant for some time. And I would think we'd, as part of the agreement, do it for like 20 years, get them in a 20-year lease agreement and some type of decommissioning too after the fact. So I could definitely see some upsides to it. The town's always looking for a positive way for revenues. We know we have enough car washes and Tim Hortons and glass shops, but these two parcels, to my understanding, Councilmember Thompson, this wouldn't be near potential neighborhood. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and something just to keep in mind, we're using the term revenue here. That's something you want to be, delicate with because in a situation like this is more about managing, the land use and how it's controlled as far as placement and impact to neighboring properties. I know when it comes to government generation of revenue, is a little bit of a term you kind of want to stay away from. So just, I guess, a point of caution, respectfully.
Right.
So.
Want to make sure we're cheek to Vegas.
What's that?
We want to make sure we're cheek to Vegas.
Okay.
Put all the billboards up.
I'm trying to get over my own bias, like you see these photos of like, just all the advertising gets real cluttered and you just drive past something and it's just, yeah, in a gaudy, but I'm trying to look past that and put my representative hat on instead of my delegate hat and say, what do people want? And I think direct democracy is the best answer on this. Ask the people what they want, All right. Anything else on billboards?
The other part?
Someone's got to go.
Please.
Do you want me to cover the new
go,
projects for September?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Vernon and I have talked about this, and I think Noah and I have talked about this as well. Just in an effort to kind of get the information out there a little bit early as possible. There will be a total of 5 new projects entering review in September. The first one being 2490 Walden, proposes a 4,671 square foot expansion for internal stock storage with site modifications. That's the Walmart on Walden Avenue. 4911 Genesee is proposing a zoning amendment from RMH residential mobile home to C retail business. The parcel is no longer associated with the adjacent mobile home park and therefore is limited by the allowable land uses. 4455 Genesee is proposing a 6,000 square foot expansion for the existing principal structure on site that is currently used for research and testing. This is CalSpan. 751 French is a place of worship that proposes a parking area expansion of 6,620 square feet that would see an addition of 20 parking stalls on site. And then lastly, 75 Innsbruck, also known as Voland Electric, proposes a 4,000 square foot warehouse adjacent to their existing building for on-site storage and equipment. All of you have been referred the files at this time, both electronically and hard copies have been sent to the clerk's office. So if you have any questions, follow up after this meeting, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
All right.
Councilmember Thompson, anything else on you have new business? All right. Any other council members for new business? Mr. Filipski.
One thing, I'm sorry, Craig, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you just kind of run down the procedures after a house or a building burns? Because it seems to be coming up more and more where people are getting antsy. It's going on 2 years and that house down the street, nothing's being done, that kind of thing. Just give us a Reader's Digest version. I know there's a lot of insurance and stuff involved.
Yeah, understood. The biggest delay across the board is going to be insurance. Routinely, it is between 12 to 24 months for a home to be rebuilt through an insurance company. Residents do have the option to go with a public adjuster like National Fire Adjusters, public adjusters, which does seem to speed it along a little bit. That's usually in the 12 to 18 month period. But unfortunately, the insurance company has to do their own diligence to ensure that they are, not paying out a fraudulent fire that, someone intentionally set.
Mm-hmm.
But I follow up, I generally handle a majority of them. I follow up monthly with the homeowner, see where they're at, see if they need anything from the town to just ensure that they are on course to get their property repaired so that it's not affecting the neighborhood for too long.
Okay, now, what about when something gets demolished? Because I've heard or I've had people email me and saying, well, like, that pink bar in the city burned and they knocked it down the next day. How come it takes so long for us to demolish a building?
Okay, so in the event of a building that is structurally damaged beyond repair, at least at our opinion, we do have a contract for emergency demolition. That would be, we have not used it for an emergency demolition, but that would be for the case of when we had the fire at 44 Long about 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple others where the highway department actually came in and mitigated the hazard for us prior to having this contract so that we could have the property be somewhat safe for the for the neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That's all I got.
Council members on new business. All right. Seeing none, hearing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda announcement. The consent agenda is contained in this meeting. The consent agenda is designed to assist making the meeting shorter and more efficient. Items left on the consent agenda may not be discussed when the consent agenda comes before the town board. If any council member wishes to discuss a consent agenda item, please tell me now and I will remove the item from the consent agenda and it will be added as a separate resolution item. Do we have any items to remove from consent tonight? Councilmember Benchkowski.
Resolution 2025-570.
Okay.
That's it.
I would like 2025-583 removed. Do we have any others? I believe we're all set.
I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda.
Make the motion?
I'll second.
By Supervisor Noack, seconded by Councilmember Bukowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, to approve all items on the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes of August 12th, 2025, and the special meeting minutes of August 15th, 2025, and in including resolution items 2025-568 through 593. We will recognize that 570 and 583 have been removed and will be taken as separate resolution items. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
By Councilmember Pilarski, seconded by Councilmember Filipski. I need a roll call vote to approve all items on the consent agenda. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Benchkowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Filipski?
Yes.
Councilmember Jazinski? Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Supervisor Noack?
Yes.
On to our separate resolution items. Member Thompson? In the room? For the resolution up for the people in the room, you were questioning ones that we were working on, so the people in the room can see it, but it won't be visible on YouTube. Okay.
Thank you.
We have resolution 2025-570. It is sponsored by Councilmember Diane Benchkowski. It was seconded by Councilmember Jazinski, who yesterday was asked that he be removed. At this time, unless we have a second, this resolution cannot move forward.
I don't want to even move forward with a second. I want to withdraw it. There was a misunderstanding from the town attorney. I misunderstood what he was telling me, and I had pulled up an old opinion from the controller's office that really was not in effect any longer to even move forward with this apprenticeship policy. So I don't even want to ask for another second.
Understood.
So
Thank you,
withdraw.
Councilmember. All right, with no second, the item is dead.
570 is withdrawn. Resolution 2025-583 is sponsored by Councilmember Thompson, seconded by Councilmember Jazinski. There exists a planned service agreement for the town's building systems between the town of Cheektowaga and Johnson Controls that has expired on June 30th, 2025. The general crew chief of the facilities department has determined that John W. Danforth Company offers the best professional service solution to meet the needs of the facilities department, HVAC upkeep and repairs. This town board approves the attached planned service proposal with John W. Danforth Company for 1 year period, beginning August 27th, 2025, at a cost of $112,000, $717.95, with the option of extending the agreement through July 2028, with this contractual price not to change. The supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the aforementioned proposal with John W. Danforth Company.
Question on this, but before I.
Over, could I speak to it?
Yes, I understand. I say, before I ask my attorney, the town attorney, the question, I'd like to ask if the mover and the second would like to speak on it. So, anything from you?
I think this would be fantastic for the town of Cheektowaga to have an immediate cost savings. And I know there have been other companies that have been sought after to do this in the past and haven't had the capability to do so. And this specific company has been doing some preventative maintenance issues and service calls currently. And to my understanding, they've been nothing but terrific for the town. So I think it'd be great to have them servicing the town.
Couple points I'd like to make is, we are officially in our heating season. So actually, the town is behind on the maintenance programs for the town. I know there's been discussions on, if something should break or, we don't have a contract and, there was the fear of potentially not getting the equipment serviced. I mean, that's not such a problem, with the heat as it is, I'm sorry, as the cooling as it is for the heating. So I think there's a lot of pluses. First of all, the company that would potentially do the servicing has a 5-star rating on Google. They are a very reputable company. They do a fantastic job. A couple things too, in attending the meetings, talking with the contractor, if they do not keep pace, they guarantee that they will, but if they don't keep pace with the contract to do the PMs and so forth, that they will pay the town back monies for the, not honoring the, process of the contract. So, we're approaching our, budget time of the year. And myself and Councilmember Thompson made a fiscal decision for the town and the taxpayers to not only get a better bang for our buck, but a considerable better bang for our buck. I think it's somewhere in the ballpark of $40,000 potentially dollars less than the original contract that we had with the former maintenance company. Is that correct?
That was roughly around 162 for the previous contract, and here we are, 112,000.
Right, and what prompted us to, do this is, I think we all had the general consensus that we had to, seek other, companies. And in my professional opinion, as long as Councilmember Thompson's, we felt that it was in the best interest for the town to seek this company for, obviously, the price is very appealing, but, just the abilities of the company. I know there were circumstances where we needed a part from the last contractor. They said it was back ordered several weeks or months or something, where this contractor said they'll have it. How long did they say? A week? A couple days?
A few days.
Yeah, so a few days. So there's a lot of pluses in order for this contractor to do the work for our town. As I said, the longer we, postpone, this process, we're going to put ourselves in potential risk of not getting our equipment serviced. As I said, we are in the heating season, and this is usually the time where we do planned maintenance on equipment. So there's definitely a lot of pluses tonight for this, and I will be a yes, and I'm encouraging the rest of the board to be a yes. So.
Yeah. As far as Danforth as a company, fine company. And the cost, I gotta commend you guys. We're saving some money. The Medisys portion that comes along with these costs is about 15 grand, but still, we're saving around $35,000. I can appreciate that. So with all that in mind, I think we're moving in the right direction to make sure that we're dealing with both the PM issues we had and do this in an affordable way. So that's moving right along well. I talked to our comptroller about this and earlier in the day, and we were talking about the potential of a 1-year agreement and leaving it at that for the meantime. This agreement here has a 1 year with renewals that will be allowed for up to 3 years, as I understand it. The potential for renewal is great. And it is also worth noting that the current contract that we had, we are out of contract. So it's not like we're replacing somebody we're currently in contract with somebody new. We are out of that. So that piece, we're in good shape on. The only question I have procedurally is, and it's for the town attorney, are we in a position to vote on this tonight, considering the price, the dollar amount, and whether or not we had to go out to bid in regards to our procurement policy? Does sole source provider help us here? I personally don't think it does, because there is some market competition, but I'm just asking your opinion on that.
I don't see this as sole source, nor do I see it as state contract. However, there's an argument to be made that this is professional services. It's contracted for professional services. I'm not going to tell you that that's 100%, but I am going to tell you there's an argument to be made. And of course, the board is going to recognize the savings and the advantages of this. So, there, again, the argument is there to be made. If somebody were to contest us on that, we would defend it. And if it turns out that we had taken a misstep, then we'd put the thing out to bid and in all likelihood end up right back with the same company. I can't say for sure, but I hear the positives that you guys are saying.
I appreciate that. I just want to make sure our bases are covered because there's a lot of good here. So I want to make sure we have it, the good in a practical sense, and procedurally we have our ducks in a row. That's all I've got to say. Any other council members? Councilmember Benchkowski?
I do want to say there's been history with performance contracts also. For instance, we are ready to pass the resolution at the last meeting to continue with Johnson Controls without putting out a notice to bidders also. And the ice rink, we go, I believe, we talked to some of the companies and then we don't put it out to bid. It went to Maulenberg Betts and some of our other IT, we have to go with what's best for the town. Also, we have engineers, we hire engineering firms. So there's been instances where we've just gone with the best, especially when it's for this type of service.
Any other council members?
One other thing to comment on this before we call to a vote is there were discussions to, take a look at and see what it looks like to service the entire town because, it was earlier this year when I found out that Johnson Controls didn't service the entire town and you had, engineering or sewer department, they're all calling different contractors to get service and, consolidating, does prove cost savings. And, the lowest price isn't always the best, but, in this instance, some of the service must speak for itself too. And I know there are departments or employees throughout the town that said, wow, this company's here often and, this still doesn't work. Or I know even our courtroom, there's been issues there since it's been, the new portion of that building has been installed. So there's a couple different factors that go into it, but there's quite a few that stand out. And, I think there's a lot of benefits for the town for this one.
Yeah, and if we go town-wide and we get into our sewer district or maybe the sanitation building, central garage, what have you, and we're getting outside of the general fund into these special districts, there's a way to set up this contract to say the total going to the company will be X.
Correct.
And we can allocate it internally on our own side to make sure, I think we talked about this. Where we don't
Yes.
want county sewer district taxpayers to pay double and subsidize people that are in the consolidated sewer.
And they have the ability to do that too. Yep.
We can split all that up. Councilman Pilarski?
Good job shopping around, Councilman, and finding a savings of 35,000+. Hearing what the attorney said, hey, that it's professional service and we've got an argument there and there's some, teeth to our bite there to defend it. I'm good with that. And worst case scenario, somebody challenges it and then we put it out for rebid. We have nothing to lose with it. So good job.
Good job too, facilities department too, for really spearheading that also.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on the item?
Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Benchkowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Filipski?
Yes.
Councilmember Jazinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Supervisor Nowak?
Yes.
583 is passed. We do have a couple items that came in late. I need a motion and a second to waive the rules to include resolution items 2025, 594, and 95. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Moved by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2025-594, sponsored by Supervisor Noack, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. The applicant.
Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, did we need a roll call vote on that one, or does the voice vote suffice to allow suspension? There were no no's, but I just want to confirm. Okay, just making sure. No, nope, unless there's no opposition from the board members, I just want to make sure we're correct procedurally. I'm fine with it.
Sponsored by Supervisor Noack, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. The applicant, Robert Rumpel of Troutman Associates, representing Niagara Power Transformer, has filed project submittals under local project 2025-2033 at the project lead address of 1755 Dale Road in Cheektowaga. That'll be SBL 102.03-3-61. The Town Board of Cheektowaga, New York grants approval of the site plan dated 5/1/2025. That is sheet SP 101 for project 2025-0354. It is also further resolved that the conditions for this approval are as follows. The Town Engineering Department accepts and sign off of the required stormwater and drainage documents and plans. The Town Building and Plumbing Department and Town Assessor's Office receipt of a sealed, stamped, and signed site plan upon engineering acceptance with no modifications of the approved site plan with electronic submission accepted.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Resolution 2025-595 is sponsored by council members Pilarski, Noack, Filipski, Bukowski, and Thompson. The town of Cheektowaga is committed to advocating for the economic and physical well-being of its residents, many of whom are working families, seniors, and small business owners already struggling with inflation and rising utility bills. New York State Electric and Gas, or NYSEG, is a subsidiary of Avangrid, has already implemented significant electric rate increases, with more under review by New York State Public Service Commission. The Cheektowaga Town Board, we're going to amend this resolution. Cheektowaga Town Board believes our residents deserve clarity, accountability, and fairness, not unchecked rate hikes to fund a bloated, oblique utility structure that fails to prioritize customer service. Whereas the Cheektowaga Town Board supports renewable energy goals, but not at the expense of public safety, affordability, or regional practicality, the Cheektowaga Town Board strongly opposes any further electric rate increases proposed by New York State Electric and Gas and urges Governor Kathy Hochul and the PSC to halt any new approvals until Avangrid has fully implemented the 128 recommendations, including full transparency and cost accountability. The copies of this resolution will be forwarded to Governor Kathy Hochul, the New York State Public Service Commission, NYSEG, Senator April Baskin, Assembly Member Patrick Chudlinski, and the Erie County Legislature.
On the question, we'll start with Councilman Jazinski.
Yeah, there was a late entry for my name to be added to that resolution. So for the record, I'd like to add my name.
Part of the resolution.
Councilmember Benchkowski.
Yes, I would also like to add my name on the resolution, and I am happy to see that the entire board is recognizing that the green energy mandates are impractical and dangerous for Western New York, where full electrification is not feasible due to our long and harsh winters. And we are all together on this. So I appreciate the effort that Councilmember Pilarski made to get this going, and I would like to put my name on it. So whoever sees this resolution when they're sent out to the legislature, the Senate, and Governor Hochul will see that we all agree on this. So thank you for doing that.
Councilman Pilarski, we'll go over to you.
Definitely expect for next meeting, one exactly like this, but tailored towards National Grid, the same thing. I mean, this one's slightly different because there were some findings with NYSEG, so we'll produce one for National Grid as well. And I'm assuming, pending you guys all see the draft and alter it, you guys would all want to be on it as well? Okay.
Thompson.
Just to piggyback off of that, you know, a lot of people have heard the talks about, you know, come the new year with, you know, any new builds going to an all electric mandate. it's just not sustainable. And that I think is, overlooked by a lot of, everyday residents, but adding that mandate in on top of this is just a disaster waiting to happen. And I think more people need to reach out to their representatives and put that pressure on because it's going to be a disaster. So thank you for, sponsoring this, Councilmember Pilarski, and, hopefully they get the message.
When it comes to the green energy mandates or electrifying things, there's a lot of potential there, and there are good things happening. We can get into discussions on heat pumps and electric cars and all this stuff, but the demand it's putting on a grid that if you look through the Public Service Commission reports and the issues that are going on with all the for-profit electric companies, the grid has fallen behind the times. There's issues with transmission lines. There's issues with the substations and all sorts of other things that need to be upgraded and improved. And if we're putting all this stuff on the grid, new air conditioning, new computing, data centers, more EVs, electric school buses, I see the potential in those things. I think we would disagree on electric school buses up here, but I think we all agree that throwing more and more on this, on the current grid, is really going to be bad for our folks in the long run. And we come to that answer with different starting points or reasoning, Did you want to add to that real quick? Or?
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think there's enough raw material on the face of the planet to, pull off this whole electrification thing. I've been to a lot of seminars and talked to a lot of people, and sure, it all looks good on paper, but the reality is that, hey, if you want a heat pump in your house, God bless you, but you shouldn't take away the right of, hey, if I want to heat it with natural gas. I mean, look what happened in Texas a couple of years back. The grid went down and everybody had heat pumps down there and a lot of people perished and died, and it was unfortunate. And I think that, being where we live, hey, if you want a heat pump, good luck with it. But the price, the cost, your electricity cost, I really don't see any savings in it because I know I got a smart meter and I've never seen my electrical cost, as high as it's ever been. So I think it's headed for a road of, destruction, the total electrification. There are some positives, about, electrification, but, as a sole source to heat your house and, me being, if I wanted to build a house, that I have to be forced to use electricity as my sole source for, energy. But there are some perks to electrification, just not the sole source of heating your house. So.
And then you got natural gas in the grid, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about the affordability of this power, and New York has got some of the highest rates in the entire country for electricity, and we've got places on the East Coast like Con Edison and others. The rates are wild that people are paying. There's a state in the Midwest or going towards the West, Nebraska. They have what's called the Nebraska Public Power District. And you can look through different charts on state by state rates for residential electricity or the average costs. Compared to their neighbors, the Nebraska Public Power District, their kilowatt hours are less expensive than all of their neighbors, with one exception being Iowa. And they have 7 neighbors. They don't, like a Van Grid is taking money out of our bills, is for the investors and the shareholders. And that's fine if you're selling shoes or running a grocery store or doing all sorts of other things, but there's really no market for electricity. We can go to these ESCOs, but it's going to cost people more usually than going directly through NYSEG or through National Grid. And the way Nebraska does things, it's run by elected folks. It is a public good, kind of like the Erie County Water Authority, kind of like our fire districts, where they have a special district, and the purpose is to make sure that everybody's needs are met. They do it on a cost basis. They're not worried about delivering a profit to folks. I think in the long run, with the New York Power Authority and some other things, that's an opportunity to make power more affordable to folks. And that's something that I personally think that we should really go down the road of looking at what a state like Nebraska has done. Why is it that their costs are lower compared to all their other neighbors? And it's because they don't have to worry about paying a CEO a bunch of money. They don't have to worry about paying dividends. They don't have to worry about paying investors or shareholders. It's just a public good. And something like electricity, to my mind personally, should be that. We're not there yet. But as long as we don't have that, we need the Public Service Commission to do everything that it can to get these guys to run as close to the bone, actually repair the infrastructure that they have, and put the people of Cheektowaga first, put the people of Western New York first. I'm not so worried about the shareholders in something like electricity. Those guys should wait down the line. That's all I have to say.
So,
I agree to some of the,
Councilman, Mr. Pilarski, we'll go over to you.
I mean, this is great because there's not many items this whole board actually unites on and goes to battle for together as a united front. So this is great. And we did this exact same thing actually when the mandates were put out. I believe we all supported that, if I'm correct. And I could be wrong, but I believe we all did support that. I mean, I would love to see a representative from NYSEG or National Grid, both of them, come in, whether it's just present to the board and you know, they feel a little more comfortable to where it's not a public forum and they're getting beat up on, you know, something to get them in the doors. Or we do a public forum because our residents have questions as well. I take big issue with the fact that, one, we have Niagara Falls in our own backyard here. I mean, if anything, this should be the cheapest area for electricity. Second of all, I mean, what we're doing by mandating electricity, you know, everything to be electrical is we're strengthening what is already there, a monopoly. I can't choose from National Grid or NYSEG. I can only have NYSEG where my house is. And the other part of Cheektowaga can only have National Grid. So it's not like you have options there either. And then when I look at my bill and I see that I'm paying more in delivery costs than I am in the actual electrical usage that I have there, I have a problem because it's making a CEO or a shareholder profits there and they're becoming rich and my utility bill literally doubled and I'm sure we're all in the same boat. Every single resident's in the same boat. So thank you all for uniting on this one. This is not an issue where we're going to fight with each other. We're going to fight together and hopefully we could help make a difference and address this at the higher levels. Unfortunately, this is not a decision, you know, we as a local town can make, but there's other towns jumping on board too. This resolution was a copy and paste. You know, I took it from another town. I was not reinventing the wheel there. They have good, strong arguments. And if we all unite as towns and come together and say, look, this is a big problem, maybe they'll listen.
Hydropower. If you look at the states that have the lowest per kilowatt hours, Idaho is at the bottom of these lists. If it's not the cheapest, it's near the cheapest. They rely heavily on water power and hydropower in the waterfalls. The same thing with the state of Washington. They're bottom 5 usually. It's the same thing. We have it right in our backyard. And you think that, I mean, it's just to think that if we didn't have that, our electricity would be even more expensive, you know? And just going back to this idea that the purpose of in my mind, a company like this to provide electricity is to serve the public and profit dividends. Those kind of things should be an afterthought. I personally don't think they should exist at all when it comes to something like this. Anything else from council members? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
To your point, I don't agree with the point that the government should run our utilities, but I do think that the biggest problem is that we need more competition for a sole source for our electric. I think that's the problem. You know, now that we have more choices for like internet and stuff like that, I think it tends to, you know, drive prices down and make it more competitive. I think that's the problem, is that we should be encouraging more private sector, you know, companies to come out and be more competitive. And I think, you know, the government's overreach is definitely too far as it is. So I'm definitely into bringing in more privatized, you know, competition to the table and see if there's any other sources of electricity other than the NYSEGs and grids and stuff like that. So
I hear what you're saying. We've got those ESCOs, and you've got places like California where their electricity system is deregulated, and they have wild rates and all that. It's a mixed bag, but I understand the point you're trying to make.
One last point for me on this is, I mean, another tough pill to swallow on this, besides everybody else getting rich off of this on the backs of all of us, the consumer, is the fact that there's no, to me, and that's why I would like to see someone from National Grid or NYSEG come in, or both come in. I don't see any investment in the infrastructure. I mean, Cheektowaga, you so much as pass gas on a sunny day that's 98 degrees, they're losing power over in, you know, the Cleveland Hill area and all that stuff. I lived over there. It would go out a couple times a year on a sunny day, or there'd be a brownout and stuff like that. I would at least be able to swallow a little bit of that pill to say, okay, they're investing and growing their infrastructure. You put a bus garage over here on Walden that's all electrical buses, I think we're doomed.
I think you made a good point, though. We do lose power a lot. So back to the point, if it wasn't for my natural gas generator, you know, during the blizzard when we lost power for 5 hours, I probably would have lost all of my frozen foods and, you know, we had my young grandchild there and stuff like that. So I agree, you know, there are areas of Cheektowaga that lose power. So that's why I think it's absolutely advantageous to have natural gas.
And, you know, with NICEAG in particular, and Diane would know in her time as supervisor and all the notices she was getting, that the NICEAG section of our system, because you've got National Grid towards the Buffalo border, you got NICEAG covering the majority of the town. And whether it's the village of Sloan or right along Union Road or some of these other areas, there's folks that are dealing with power outages once every other month in the course of the year. I mean, so to see that and to know that you read the Public Service Commission reports that tree trimming needs to be done, a variety of other issues, and just I do appreciate the folks we have locally that if a power outage happens, they notify right away, they work on it quick, they get folks back online, but it's happening more and more. So, anybody else? Did we beat this to death? Yeah. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Resolution 595 is carried. That is the end of our resolution items. We're moving on to communications. Departmental communications include the supervisor's statement of June 2025, minutes from the Environmental Advisory Committee from July 30th, minutes from the Conservation Advisory Council of August 13th, and minutes from the Planning Board from August 14th. General communications. Town Clerk's Office received 2 notices of claim. We received 20 notices of petition, and we received 2 notices of summons and complaints.
All right, with that, we go to supervisor's comments. I'll be very brief tonight. On September 17th at the Cheektowaga Senior Center, it is a Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm going to hold my latest town hall and a series of town halls going around the town. It's going to be an open question and answer session. I'll get an idea of what the opening comments will be about when we get closer to it. But as always, I want to invite the public to come out, spend a couple hours with myself and some of the other elected officials in the community, share your questions, thoughts, concerns, and we'll do my best to answer those and get some responses to the things that are brought up there. Also, this coming Monday is Labor Day. I want to wish everyone a happy Labor Day and to take some time to enjoy that and think about all that it took to make the United States the greatest country in the world for working and middle-class folks. And despite some of the things you see in the news and some of the day-to-day drama and issues that are out there, all the good we have to be appreciative of. So council member comments. We'll start with Mr. Pilarski and make a wave over.
Quick update. We briefly touched on Tunnels to Tower. You know, they're moving forward with the project and everything, but Veterans Park over at Nob Hill is also work in progress right now as we speak. The forms are all laid out as of a couple of days ago. I swing by today. I haven't done it yet, but I'll swing by after this meeting since we'll be done while there's still daylight. So I'll stop by over there. And,
Jinxed it now.
yeah, I know. I'll stop by there and check it out, but they're going to be laying down the pavers and everything like that. So that is moving along. Who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks, next meeting, we'll be able to say it was done. So I'll keep you updated on that.
I just want to put on the record that I did email the town engineer that I would like to see the construction schedule for Pleasant Parkway as well as for Tunnel for Towers. This way we can have something to speak to it, and because I know there's a lot of residents that really have some unanswered questions, and maybe this can clarify a few things for them. And just for all the working class people in this world, enjoy your Labor Day. You all deserved it.
Yes, regarding your town hall on September 17th, wow, what great timing. And I'm going to encourage residents to come out and maybe give some feedback on the budget that maybe you could use, because you still would have a couple more weeks.
I'm hoping we'll have it done by then. I don't want to guarantee it or promise it.
But it's tentative or preliminary, I forgot.
Preliminary, we hoping to be done, but it's.
But it's still open for revision, so if you could bring that back to us, if I don't make it, maybe I will try to make it, listen to the residents' concerns about ideas with the budget.
Maybe make it a whole town board thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Because ultimately, we should have some say in it this time around.
Yeah.
Just want to make mention of the first responders involved in the tragic accidents in the Pembroke Medina area. I know there were a handful of folks from our town that were involved with being readily available to help assist in any way, shape, or form. And really thank them for, all the work they do and all the volunteer time they put into, service others, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So I just want to thank you guys for that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe already. It's the last week of August. Summer really superly flew by. I do want to do a special shout out to Crystal Find and everyone and all the staff at Youth and Rec. This summer was really, really great. They had great staff at the pools. They had great staff at all the camps, and then the great staff that had all the activities for the kids this past summer. So special thank you to all of them. And just a reminder, yes, Labor Day is Monday, and then the schools are going to be opening up next week. So please be a little more mindful. Traffic's going to be a little bit heavier and school buses will be out. So a little bit, be careful of that. And a little reminder is next week, Saturday, September 6th, is the Tunnel to Towers 5K run and walk. And everyone, if you haven't signed up and you're still interested, I know you still can do that. And it start time is going to be at 08:30 on Saturday the 6th at Bellevue Fire Hall. And that's it. Happy Labor Day, everybody.
Thank you. Councilmember Filipski.
I'd just like to thank Councilman Pilarski for the resolution about the power stuff. Thank you. That was big of you to include everybody. On the Labor Day theme, there seems to be an uptick, I guess, in people calling different departments here and screaming and threatening people, our employees, the clerks. That's not acceptable. If you're angry, that's fine. Everybody gets angry. But you have no right to berate somebody and start screaming at them because you didn't get your way. That's not how this is supposed to work. Yes, you pay their salaries, but so do I. I don't do that. And it's unacceptable. People should not have to put up with that. So I know it's nobody in this room, but just throwing it out there, the employee should not have to put up with that. Conversely, if you feel you've been disrespected by an employee, reach out and it'll be investigated and dealt with also. But our employees take a lot, and it seems like it's getting more and more, and it needs to end. Thank you.
And to the point of you just jinxed us, I'd like to make a motion to enter executive session to discuss discipline of particular.
Comment.
Oh,
Public comment.
Public comment.
have my apologies. I'm just trying to keep our meeting moving along. We'll get to it.
Get going.
Seeing if anybody's still awake.
Thanks for not screaming at him, Reverend Rick.
You guys say I'm not held accountable. All right, we have two so far signed up for public comment. Should I read the statement or just give you guys the floor? It's a small crowd tonight. Reverend Rick.
You're the boss. What do you want to do?
Maximum of 3 minutes speaking time, right?
Time me. And who said prayer doesn't work? Look at Resolution 2025-595 passed unanimously. And I commend you people on that. How many here have ever owned a total electric house? I've had two of them. 1974, I bought a mobile home, and it was total electric because you didn't have a choice back then. You had oil or you had propane, and I didn't want propane, and I didn't want oil. So I had total electric. I was in that mobile home during the blizzard of 77. Not a fun thing. Then we got rid of the mobile home, so we went to Pendleton and we bought an acre and a half of land. We built a brand new home. You couldn't get natural gas. You had oil or you had propane or electric. Stupid gets electric.
No name calling, Reverend Rick.
Well, I'm calling myself that. That was foolish on my part of going to total electric home.
There was houses in Cheektowaga that were built solely with electric back when the moratorium in the 70s was
Yes.
going on with the natural gas.
1977.
Where I lived, there was houses built with all
Yes.
electric.
1977. All right. And then we built it in 78. But the thing was, you ever been in a brownout? It's very ugly. And you're in a total electric home. I tell you what, and my bills were ridiculous. So thank God I got rid of the place. But people don't understand how expensive it is. When you're heating a whole house, what total electric plus everything else is in there, total electric, that meter was like a propeller and an airplane. So I appreciate what you're saying here. I don't appreciate what they're doing with the Public Service Commission, public service, and they're letting them do this to us. And I appreciate for you what you guys did today, condemning this. Thank you very much.
Next up, Dan Collender.
I'm going to piggyback off of Reverend Rick there just a little bit. Yeah, the PSC is the one who gives away all those rate increases. The electric company asks for a big greedy number, and then the PSC goes, no, we'll give you half of that. Okay, it's not that they say, no, we're not going to give you anything. And that's exactly what they did with National Grid last week. They gave them half of what they wanted, which is still a ridiculous number, going to put people's bills way even higher. And my bill was $282 this month. It's the highest it's ever been. I'm not on a budget, never been on a budget, so I pay for exactly what I use. I like the smart meter because they bill me every month, where before it was just nothing but a sine wave going up and down because they always overestimated. Now it's ridiculously high. I'm moving on from that. I'm going to talk about the town's website again. It's still not updated. Anybody know who the assessor is still listed on there? It's Allison Burke. Okay, and there's many, many more things on that website that are way outdated. When is the town going to make that website updated? I mean, people need to have this information. I mean, we got people who are filing. If you look at all the stuff in the thing here, all these general communications, and you got people, they don't know who the assessor is. Okay, when they're filing their SCAR petitions, because the town says Allison Burke. Okay, she's not the assessor.
Yeah, to your point, at our department head meeting last week, I brought up the website and asking our department heads to look through the website and make updates. I'll reach out to our town assessor. She's still getting her feet under her. You know, Janine's still relatively new, so we'll make sure that I'll make sure to reach out directly and get the assessor portion of the website.
Does she update the website?
Not personally, no.
Okay,
So
and it's not for her to update it. It's for whoever runs the website to update.
But it's a matter, my approach on this was to ask the department heads to review their portions to make sure we catch this in a wholesale way, to get more than one set of eyes on it. To have one person look over the entire website, it's a lot. I appreciate you bringing it up. We'll get that piece dealt with. And you
I understand it. Read the comments and my concerns of the Cheektowaga Taxpayers Facebook group, and people will be more than happy to point out which parts need to be updated.
But so well taken. Thank you, Dan.
Yep. Okay. Next one. You were talking about these billboards, and the way it was coming off is like you already know a spot to put these billboards. Like it's already in your head where you want to plant these trees, these electronic trees, so to speak. Are you going to let us know, or are you just going to keep it all a secret? And you already teased us, like you already know exactly what piece of property you want to put this on that the town owns.
I'll speak to that. There was someone that reached out and they wanted to, propose putting billboards up, and they sent a list of vacant properties that the town owns. And we looked at the properties and saw, some we don't own anymore, and tried to verify which ones. And before, preliminary conversations, we'll say, this could work, that could not work, because again, you're having discussions about it. But I wanted to bring it to the entire board and in the public to have that conversation. I am not unilaterally making any decision to say this will go here, this will go there. That my intent was to have that discussion in the open. And yes, somebody did come and say, hey, this is what I propose. And instead of saying, yeah, we can do that, I'm going to follow the proper channels to say, hey, this is what's being proposed to us. Is this something we want to entertain? Let's put it out to the public to have those discussions also.
But you brought up the way it came off, and even the people online, it come off like you already have an exact spot where you like to put them. And I'm not against the billboards. I know there aren't any going to go on my street, okay? But anybody who has a potential of having one in their way should really be notified as early as possible because it may affect their quality of life in some way, shape, or form. Okay, look, for me, it's not going to, but I can understand if you're on a busy road, you can probably expect, if there's an empty town property, you're probably going to expect somewhere to go. So I'm thinking somebody here has an idea, a couple properties where they would probably go. And I'm not against the town making money on it. I think it's a good idea if the residents in the area don't mind it.
Right. And there were some that were near the airport. So that's, again, why we started this discussion to look at even which areas were zoned as such and where would make the most sense if we were to do this.
I
So
understand.
without.
It's complicated, but
it is.
You know, there's town property. We, the taxpayer, it's technically our property. We don't know every spot that's town property. Okay, maybe people who live near a piece of town property would know, but out of all the town properties, I don't know where they all are. You probably don't know where they all are. You probably know a little more now because you did a little research, but we don't know. And the people in that area need to be informed sooner rather than later because it's going to affect their quality of life in some way, shape, or form.
Correct. And that's why this is the very, very beginning stages of this. So if and when we get to that point, without certainty, it will be made public to the public.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to the next question. Online comments through the meeting. You can see if you've been looking through there, Diane, there is a comment on there that somebody wanted to ask. When are we going to start doing this consistently like other towns do? Or we're just going to keep ignoring it? We had 72 people watching online today. How many people are in this room? How many were in this room? Not even 20% of that. So the majority of the people watching these meetings are not in this room. They need to have a way to ask a question, and the town board needs to make sure those people get to ask the questions. Other towns do it. West Seneca does it for sure, definitively. I'm pretty sure Amherst does it. I don't know why we can't do it consistently. It's not rocket science.
I thought we were doing that if somebody commented for public comment.
There is
we would
one.
read
yes.
that off.
I can read. You have it too.
Somebody has to look at it as the meeting's going on and note them down. In other towns, it's usually the town clerk doing it.
So in all fairness, yes, there's one comment that we've glossed over and missed, unfortunately, and you're right, stay consistent with it, but we are also at 7 minutes on your comment period, so I'd like to stay consistent also to move forward. If we could read that one comment, please, and then we keep moving forward.
Take it out of my tax bill.
Yeah, I do actually. Heather Ault said 3 of the recent zoning board of appeals meetings did not have a town employee to operate the presentation system. So the meeting wasn't recorded and the AV wasn't available. I'm not sure what that.
I have that in my notes.
Okay,
I'm gonna look into that
so
and get back
at least
to-
she'll be on the record saying that, and we should check into that to make sure that the zoning board of appeals is live streamed.
It's something, I mean, it's a very simple thing to get this thing started and going, whether it's a member of the zoning board themselves, somebody else that's in the room for that meeting that should be able to get that going. We will get that figured out.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. Other than political slander, we should be doing a Q&A on that.
Do we have anyone else from the audience?
Have the IT director, if she could
Yeah.
comment on that. She would come to the podium, please. Thank you.
I'm gonna go back again to what I said earlier. Whenever there's anyone in this room for any meeting, there's instructions that are up at the podium. And after today, I'll even leave further instructions. I'll actually put them on a label, tape them around the screens. It'll be very easy to understand. So who's ever running a meeting has the instructions right at that control panel, and they should be able to stream. It's very simple. It's a 4-step process, but the instructions are right there. So there is no reason that the meetings can be streamed.
I'm sorry, Vernon, a municipality as large as ours should be streaming more of our meetings and not less. So
Yeah.
we've been getting our zoning and planning going, especially earlier in the year, we were doing these regularly. I'd like to see us add more of our public meetings on in a streaming format. So that's a great move for that. I don't know if I stole your thunder there.
And
but-
if there's any employees that are in the rooms for these meetings, that, I mean, the IT department's available to come and show them how to use it, but it's very simple.
Okay.
Okay.
Did I?
I was just gonna ask, is it possible to coordinate with, you know, these different groups that have meetings and maybe have them come in on a Tuesday, or so you don't have to go to every single one of their meetings? They can come in
Absolutely.
and you can do a run through with them so they know how to do it.
And there's someone from my department too that has a very well understanding of the setup, how everything is, you know, plugged in under the desk, the controller. So I can send him over. It'll take 5 minutes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
From Heather Alt for public comment. The Traffic Safety Commission meetings aren't streamed and recorded. This needs to happen. I would agree. We do stream our EAC meetings, right, Dan? I've watched some of those after the fact from home, so I know we're getting those done. Traffic safety, there's other boards that we should get on online. Anyone that's meeting in these chambers here, and if they're meeting off-site, let's do what we can to get them in here to ease that process. If not, we'll figure out how to deal with that down the road.
I have been going to the traffic safety meetings. I might have to do that because I don't think the members there will, I think they might have a hard time with it, maybe not, but I will try to go to the next few meetings and get those up and running.
I do appreciate it. Let's work together. Let's not get grieved, guys, you know? But, all right, anyone else from the public that would like to speak before I close out this meeting? All right, with that, I'll make a motion to enter executive session regarding the discipline of particular persons, matters leading to the removal and or appointment of a particular corporation and or partnership, and also attorney-client privilege. Do I have a second?
Second.
This will be with no action to follow. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?